Football fans, the transfer window drama just got even more chaotic. Wolves have just rejected a £50 million bid from Newcastle United for Jørgen Strand Larsen, and the reactions are nothing short of explosive. Some people are calling it madness. Others think Newcastle have completely lost the plot, and a few believe Larsen could actually be worth the gamble. Either way, this story has caught everyone's attention because it shows just how desperate Newcastle are in the striker market. Before we dive into the heated public reaction, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe if you love football drama, and drop your opinion below. Is Larsen worth £50 million, or have Wolves made the right call? The first and loudest reaction has been about the price tag. Many fans couldn't believe Newcastle even went as high as £50 million in the first place. Words like crazy, ridiculous, and a joke were thrown around everywhere. Some laughed it off, saying Wolves should have taken the money and run before Newcastle realized what they were doing. One point that kept coming up was Larsen's actual record. People argued he simply hasn't done enough to justify such a huge fee. To them, this was another example of Premier League clubs splashing cash out of desperation rather than smart recruitment. A few even joked that he isn't worth half of that fee, with some fans claiming he's not even a £20 million player. But on the flip side, there was a small group defending Newcastle's thinking. They argued that if Larsen gets the right service at St. James's Park, he could easily score 15 to 20 goals a season. Maybe even more. And when goals are at a premium, suddenly £50 million doesn't sound quite so ridiculous in today's inflated market. Still, those voices were definitely in the minority compared to the overwhelming disbelief at the number. The second big theme was Newcastle's desperation. Fans described this transfer window as nothing short of a circus show. Over and over, people pointed out that Newcastle are being rejected by everyone. Some called them Rejected FC, saying they've already been turned down more than 10 times this window. The main reason, according to a lot of supporters, is the Isak situation. Because Alexander Isak has been linked with a move away, every club now knows Newcastle are scrambling for a striker. That desperation means sellers feel they can spike up the price, and Wolves certainly did just that with Larsen. One person summed it up perfectly: when everyone knows you're desperate, you're going to be exploited in the market. Another argument was that Newcastle only have themselves to blame. Letting Callum Wilson go without securing a proper replacement first was labeled a huge mistake. People said it was basically handing over their negotiating power, leaving them with no choice but to overpay for whoever is available. But it wasn't just Newcastle who came under fire. Wolves also got their share of criticism. Some fans argued that Wolves should have cashed in immediately. They only bought Larsen for around £20 million not long ago, and turning down more than double that fee was seen as foolish. Others pointed out that Wolves have been flirting with relegation for a few seasons now, selling off their best players without replacing them properly, and rejecting £50 million could come back to bite them. At the same time though, a lot of people understood Wolves' stance. Without a proper replacement lined up, it would be suicidal to sell their main striker just days before the transfer window shuts. Goals are already in short supply at Molineux, and losing Larsen now could easily send them spiraling down the table. One of the most interesting parts of the reaction was the flood of suggestions for who Newcastle should go after instead. Strand Larsen clearly didn't inspire confidence, so fans listed almost every striker under the sun as a better option. Names like Nicolas Jackson, Brian Mbeumo Wissa, Dusan Vlahovic, Dominic Calvert-Lewin, Højlund, even Gabriel Jesus came up. Some joked that Newcastle are scraping the barrel and might end up with Danny Ings or even Vincent Aboubakar on a free. A few Wolves supporters even cheekily offered to drive Larsen up to Newcastle themselves if another bid comes in. The consensus was that Newcastle should either go big on a proven striker, and with names like Victor Osimhen getting mentioned, or wait until January rather than wasting money on what many see as panic buys. Running through all of this is the shadow of Alexander Isak. His situation has completely destabilized Newcastle's window. Many fans believe the club tried to play hardball with his transfer and it backfired, leaving them desperate for a replacement and inflating every target's price. There's also the human side. Some people argued that no striker will want to join Newcastle right now after seeing how Isak has been treated. The club looks unstable, and that damages their appeal. Others went further further, saying Newcastle have cut off their nose to spite their face. They'll end up with an unhappy Isak whose value will only drop while still failing to land a proper replacement. Of course, football fans never miss a chance to add some humor, from people calling Newcastle rejected FC, to jokes about Larsen learning English just to say no in 2 languages. The sarcasm was everywhere. A few compared the situation to Newcastle going on a desperate hunt for a prom date, wandering around the nerd table because all the good options are already taken. But underneath the jokes, there was real frustration too. Newcastle had such a promising season last year, securing Champions League football, and now many supporters feel it's slipping away because of poor planning in the transfer market. Some even said they should forget the Champions League entirely this season because the squad simply won't be strong enough. So what's the verdict? On one hand, most people think £50 million for Jørgen Strand Larsen is wild overspending, and Wolves were smart to reject it. On the other hand, Newcastle's desperation for a striker is so obvious that fans expect them to come back with an even higher bid, maybe even £60 million or more. What's clear is that Newcastle's transfer strategy has become the story of the window. Between losing Callum Wilson, the Isak uncertainty, and a string of public rejections, the club now looks like it's running out of time and options. But what do you think? Should Newcastle push again for Larsen, switch to another target like Jackson, Wissa, or even Osimhen, or hold their ground until January? Drop your thoughts below and let's see where the football world stands on this one. And as always, if you enjoyed this breakdown of public reaction, hit the like button, subscribe for more transfer drama, and stay tuned. Because if this window has shown us anything, it's that the story is never over until the deadline slams shut.